last 5 years. I mean, today we're joining tens of thousands of people, not just in Texas, not just in the United States, but across the globe. And this has been something that's been going on for nearly 20 years. It goes back to about 1999. So these are the moments that we can use to help push a lot of change, not just at the local level, at the state level, but in our country. These are the times that we can build that momentum. And what I want to talk to you about, and I don't, it's hard to follow that speech, being a politician. So,
hey, I love you.
So I'll be careful with what I say. No, I appreciate it. And the fact of the matter is, I think the tide is turning. I think the tide is turning when it comes to laws related to cannabis, and it's because of folks like y'all. As a former prosecutor, I don't think I could have never thought that I'd be here standing with you, advocating for drug policy reform and talking about these issues, not just here with you in El Paso, but on the floor of the Texas House of Representatives. But this is a testament to advocacy, because my constituent, Colton Morris, said, I want to meet with you, you're my representative, and I have an issue that I care about very much. And when I hear the story about Jessica's story, and I hear stories about others who are struggling, who are fighting, that really touches me. It touches people in a way that I don't think other stories can. Colt sat with me and he said, this is what I expect from you as my representative. And I walked into that meeting thinking it was going to be a fairly short meeting. We'd be able to kind of move on and tell him, Texas isn't really the place for this conversation. We're not ready for this conversation. And he was ready for all those arguments. And so he laid out to me what he thought was a very good strategy when it came to Texas. And since that point, we have built a...
Today I'm wearing black to signify the death of the Second Amendment if this week's Bad Bill of the Week becomes law in Texas. Hello, Patriots. Representative Jonathan Stickland here with the Bad Bill of the Week winner, House Bill 131, filed by the second most powerful member of the Texas legislature, the Speaker Pro Tem and Vice Chair of Calendars, Joe Moody, has filed a bill that would take your Second Amendment rights and throw them in the trash. Known as a red flag law, this bill would allow someone to file a complaint and say that you are mentally unstable, and have a law enforcement agent show up at your home with the intent to confiscate your firearms. This has nothing to do with our constitutional rights. Due process is thrown out the window, and this threat by this author in Texas should be taken seriously by every single patriot and lover and defender of the Second Amendment in Texas. Here is what I need you to do. And here is what I need you to get your friends to do. I need you to call Representative Joe Moody and tell him that red flag laws are unacceptable, that House Bill 131 will not stand in the state of Texas. He needs to know that the Second Amendment is important to us, because we know that it protects every other right that we have. Without it, they will slowly diminish. And that is not the Texas I want to leave our children. So please, if you have ever done anything on Bad Bill of the Week, this is the one I need you to take action on. Call him today, share this with your friends, and keep watching House Bill 131. Because if it becomes law, there will be no going back once they have their foot in the door. God bless you, and thank you for all that you do.
Dustin Burrows, and in, I would say studio, but in the office right now, State Representative for District 92, Jonathan Stickland. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me, John.
I appreciate you being here. Tell folks a little bit about yourself, a little bit about District 92, and why you're one of the most talked about lawmakers down here in Austin.
Well, I'm Jonathan Stickland. I am, I believe, the second youngest member of the Texas legislature right now, which is a bit interesting. When we decided to run for office the first time, I was 27 years old. Been married 11 years now, got 2 little girls, Andy and Carly, who are, 10 and about to be 8 now.
Awesome.
So that's happened fast. And I represent House District 92, which is in Tarrant County, go right up to the Dallas County line and cover all of Hearst, Euless, and Bedford, and then a little bit of part of North Arlington and North Grand Prairie.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you coming in today. Let's talk first about some of the pieces of legislation that you have that you want to see push. And I think one of the biggest newsmakers that at least I get tweets about and see is constitutional carry.
Yes.
Talk about that. Why does Texas need constitutional carry?
Well, number one, Texas needs constitutional carry because that's what the people have said they want. This is, in fact, the number one legislative priority of the Texas Republican Party platform. This is what thousands of delegates got together and said, this is the item that we want to see in statute and to become law. So really, I feel like I'm just representing what the people said they want and have wanted for the last 2 cycles. So kept my campaign promise and filed constitutional carry. And what this bill does is it believes that the Second Amendment is our right to keep and bear and have arms. And we don't think that we should have to pay a fee or take a state-mandated test to invoke those rights. So constitutional carry will simply make the CHL process optional. So anyone who is legally able to purchase a gun should be able to carry.
Okay, so legally able to purchase a gun. So I think when some of those who oppose this bill or oppose constitutional carry, they think, oh my goodness, felons are going to be getting guns and being able to carry. Those who shouldn't be able to carry guns, they're going to have guns. This does not allow that.
This is not that fight. That's a different bill. So if you are able to legally purchase a gun and pass the background checks and all the requirements to purchase the gun, then you would be able to constitutionally carry. No one new would be able to.
Would this include open and concealed carry?
Open and concealed. Now, I've had some people who have been concerned because they use their CHL license in other states. We have reciprocity agreements with states all over the country. That's why we're not getting rid of the CHL. We're simply making it optional.
Okay, so you don't have to carry it with you all the time.
That's right.
How much support do you think this has right now?
Well, back at home, this is huge. I mean, I will tell you, we have a pretty active social media presence online, and whenever we talk about constitutional carry, HB 375, this is the number one issue that we get responses on. We have seen literally tens of thousands of people sign petitions. We've been working with National Association for Gun Rights, Lone Star Gun Rights, Open Carry Texas. There are a lot of people who've come together and been pushing this legislation. And I will tell you, we have quite a few people who have been brave and bold who have co-sponsored the legislation already and signed up for it. And I can't tell you how many different politicians who have said, well, I'll vote for it, but I don't want to put my name on it yet.
Why is that? What are they worried about?
Well, politicians here in Austin, they tend to not want to take a position on anything. If they can stay out of the fray, that means they're typically safe. So rather than pushing for the things that they say they believe in, they just kind of step back until they're forced to take a position. That way nobody gets mad. I disagree with the way that they approach things. I think that if you really believe the things that you say you believe, you have a responsibility to go out and push for that, and that includes educating the public and being bold and things like that. So I applaud the over a dozen different folks who have already signed on to the bill. We have the joint authors, and we've been working the committee process. We actually have our committee hearing on next Tuesday, so we've been gearing up for that, getting our testimonies all ready and whatnot. So it's really exciting.
Let's talk about the dynamic between the Senate and the House.
Yeah.
It's a strong dynamic. There's been a back and forth played out a little bit yesterday on the show when I was broadcasting between the House Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor.
I heard about that.
What are your thoughts just overall on this dynamic? Do you think that the Speaker is getting in the way of some of this legislation that Republican voters have wanted? I would say Texas voters overall. Polls, well, I'm talking about the bathroom bill, I'm talking about sanctuary cities.
Sure. In-state college tuition
right.
for illegals.
I mean, do you think there's a roadblock in the House?
I do, and I definitely blame the Texas leadership team. That includes Joe Strauss, Speaker Strauss, but it also includes the people that he enables. So the people that he has surrounded himself and built this kind of power structure in the House have definitely been working to thwart conservative legislation. And Chad, this is what you get when you have such a powerful position that is elected by a small group of people down in San Antonio. Now, one thing you need to understand about Strauss's district back in San Antonio is this is one of the only districts in Texas that did not go for either Cruz or Trump in the primary. Okay, they went with Rubio, and that just wasn't common. So you've got a small little group of people who are electing one person who has managed to put himself in a powerful position with the help of the Democrat coalition and a bunch of moderate Republicans. On the other side, you have Dan Patrick, who was forced to put out a message and lay out an agenda for the entire state, which is much more representative of the Republican Party that I know and that my district wants, which is they want big government off their backs. So Dan has had to face those voters. Strauss has never had to face those voters, and I don't think that he could. So I think that's why you see this big roadblock in between these two on what their priorities are.
If the speaker wanted to, and I tried to get him to go there yesterday, because you're right, he has different chairmen, different in different committees that can stop bills from making it to the floor. If he wanted to put pressure on him to say, no, we need to have the debate on the floor over the Texas Privacy Act, could he do it, and would it happen?
He absolutely could, and that's what people back at home need to understand is every single day they continue to stop conservative legislation. It's not like they made a decision a couple of months ago and now they're wondering. They could come in tomorrow. In fact, they have a couple of different times tried to come in and change the rules, suspend all the necessary rules and the Constitution to bring up things that are a priority to them. Unfortunately, last week, one of those was they had cut a deal with the Democrats and they had messed up on some posting. They wanted to bring raising the minimum wage up to $15 an hour to the floor faster. So they brought a motion before everybody to suspend those rules. So we've seen time and time again, when the House leadership team, the Republicans, decide they want to do something, they can get it done. But every single day they come down here and say no to the legislation that the Senate is sending over. I
want to get your thoughts real quickly. We have a few minutes here on the show. Do you think that if the bathroom bill, SB 6, if it were to come to the House floor, do you think it'd pass?
I do.
What about the bill for vouchers, school choice?
That one's a little bit more difficult because you have some different parts of the state. Again, overwhelming amount of people at the polls in the Republican primary said that they support school choice. So, but here's the bigger question. Do voters deserve to know where their legislators stand on the big topics of the day? And I say yes. I reject the notion that there is such thing as a bad vote. I believe what I believe, and I'm ready to go defend that before my constituents. And I think that I have a duty to show them where I stand on the issues. Campaigning is one thing, we've found out, but coming down here and voting is another. And I think we owe the people of Texas to show them where we stand on all of these issues. And if you don't agree with something, then get up and make your case. But this idea that House leadership has a responsibility to hide us from quote-unquote bad votes is a sickness, and we need to reject it.
Visiting with Representative Jonathan Stickland. Before I let you go, what's one or two pieces of legislation that everyone else should be paying attention to right now that isn't grabbing those headlines like some of the other pieces that we've talked about?
Well, sanctuary cities is a big one. It is grabbing headlines, but here's what is not. The House version of sanctuary cities is completely watered down. It has no teeth to it. It's bringing in the governor into this kind of fight between the House and the Senate side, from what I have been told, because this sanctuary cities bill that is about to be on the House floor is not what it appears to be. So people need to pay attention to that. I also think they need to pay attention to CPS reform, because there's a lot of parental rights and things that will have repercussions and I believe unintended consequences, so we need to be paying very close attention to that.
All right. Representative Stickland, appreciate your time today, and hopefully we'll get you back on the show up in Lubbock.
Let's do it, Chad. Thank you.
All right. You've been listening to the Chad HD Show, brought to you by H&H Trailer Sales, Galatia Insurance, Cactus Theater, live from the Texas State Capitol.
The chair recognizes Representative Stickland on a matter of personal privilege. Members, please take your seats. Members, either take your seats or take your conversations outside the rail.
Members, this is the first time that I've ever done this since being elected a state representative. But I have to tell you that what happened today is one of the most offensive things and disgusting things that I have ever seen in this body. Every single one of us, maybe the people back at home don't realize it, but every single one of us in this body know exactly what happened with the Munoz Amendment. A vehicle was found to shut down debate on a very important issue that many of our constituents care about. I'm not up here at this time to try and tell you how good or bad the Texas Enterprise Fund is. I stand before you today to tell you that the people back at home, our constituents, our voters, those who we represent, have a right and an expectation to know where every single one of us stand on every single issue. This notion that we're somehow going to pull procedural maneuvers and hide tough votes or difficult votes and hide where we may stand on an issue like the Texas Enterprise Fund, that is somehow a good thing. Members, it may not affect you today. Maybe what happened with the Munoz Amendment and the rulings that came from the chair was what you agree with politically. But either we have rules in this House and we have decorum and we have rights as elected representatives to represent our constituents, or we don't. And if we continue to support an agenda or a person who hurts our ability to do that, then shame on us. All session long, I have asked for different things to happen. I have made different motions, requested different things, and I've been constantly cut off at the knees. And maybe you think that's funny because we don't agree politically. But rules exist, the Constitution exists to protect the minority and our rights as individuals. And one day, you might be in the minority on something that you absolutely care about, something that your constituents expect you to fight on. And procedural moves will stop you from being able to do that. You hear the jokes coming from this back hall right now. You hear the screams. This isn't a joke. Bills, amendments, and ideas should live or die based on their merit and not on politics, not on bending the rules. And I would ask every single one of you to dig deep and think about, what kind of house do you want to be a part of? Do you really want to exist in a place where you're protected or stopped from moving your own agenda or not having your motions recognized? Because I don't. I'm proud of where I stand on the issues, and I know every single one of you are too. And I'm asking you to dig deep and think about this. Do you want to continue to hide through amendments and take things off the table with no debate and no answer for your constituents? Or do you want to continue business as usual in this building? These votes matter. And I hope that none of you have to experience what I have had to, where my voice has been silenced by a bunch of manipulation of this booklet right here. Thank you, members.